Hey everybody, this is Lori, and I just wanted to pop in, I hope quickly, to share with everybody in the club a design that Darlene shared with our demonstrator group a couple of weeks ago. She and I have been trading some email messages and chatted on the phone, and I am going to show you what she showed us. And it's a super cool technique. Darlene, thank you so much for sharing this with us. It's really cool. It's really amazing. So I'm going to jump in, and as I am talking, please hear Darlene in my voice because she really needs to get all the credit for bringing this design to our group. This is a Tealight card, and it is made so that you can stand it up vertically, and you can put a little tea light inside. And then this one is designed with some vellum on, and obviously if I had a tea light behind here, you would see that light coming through, and it's just super cool. But what I want to do today is go through the process of making these cards. And I'm going to use this as sort of a prop, and then I'm going to cheat. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to cheat because I'm going to do one with some designer series paper. And maybe you'll like it with the designer series paper as well. It definitely is an easy one to do. So let's get going. Start with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Cardstock, obviously that's the regular standard cardstock size. If you want to use a piece of designer series paper, and this is one that I'm using, it is from the Painted Christmas designer series paper collection, and I cut this down so that it is 11 by 8.5. It's the exact same size as a regular size cardstock. To do that, on the one side I took off 1 inch because it was 12 by 12, so I took off 1 inch to get it to 11 inches. And then on the other side that was 12, I took off 3.5 inches. So I got that one down to 8.5 as well. So this is 8.5 by 11. Where we're going with this is we need to do some scoring. And I'm going to bring the prop back in. It's just easier to show you what we're going to do, and then we'll do it. We need to score this so that there are 8 equal rectangles in the card. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to score it in half on the 8.5 inch side, so right down the middle. Then on the 11 inch side we're going to score in half, and then we're going to have the halves, so we're going to go in at each quarter mark on the 11 inch side. So let's just look and see what that means. And I'm going to bring in the piece that I cut with the designer series paper. And let me go first to the 8.5 inch side. So on the 8.5 inch side, you're going to score at 4 1/4. So right down at 4 1/4. That's the only score that you're going to do on the 8.5 inch side. You're going to flip your paper over to the 11 inch side, and I'm not going to go in order, but you're going to half that piece or half that edge. So you're going to go at 5.5, and then you want to get your quarters. Half of 5.5 is 2 3/4, so you're going to score at 2 3/4, and then to get that other piece, you're going to go at 8 1/4. So on the 11 inch side, it's 2 3/4, 5.5, and 8 1/4. And that's all the scoring that you need to do. So what I have now is a piece of designer series paper that has 8 of the same size rectangles that I've scored. And eventually we're going to get to the point where this is going to make a card like this. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to cut this line, and that is going to allow us to flip the card up. So we'll have our 2 halves that are made out of the same piece of paper. And there are a couple ways that you can cut in the middle of a piece of card. The way I like to do it is I'm going to grab my paper trimmer and I'm going to use the nice visual on the paper trimmer because I'll be able to see where I'm starting the cut by using this blade. And honestly, on this piece of designer series paper, because there's a design in it, it's not super busy, but I'm going to just make a little pencil mark, and I'll be able to erase that so that I can really see where it is that I'm going to make the cut. On a piece of cardstock, you probably don't need to do that because you'll be able to see where you put your score lines, and you're just going to come in at your score line. So what I want to do is I want to cut a line on my score line from where I put that pencil mark, so where that crease is, all the way to this crease, and that's going to allow me to open up the card. So I'm just going to put this into my card, into my paper trimmer, and I'm going to burnish this a little bit better. This is just a little hard to see because it is designer series paper, and that way I can slide it into where my track is. And if I bring the blade into the middle here, I'm just trying to get a good angle on this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, so if I bring the blade and I can go right up, you're going to see there's a little line. It's probably on your paper cutter as well, and just go right up to where that line is, and I'm trying to get it so that it's right by the score. Then I'm going to take it down the middle, and again I'm going to stop, and I know this is a little bit off camera, but I'm going to stop right at that other line. Then I'm going to slide it back so when I pick it up I don't do anything to tear my paper. And now what you're going to see is I do have that cut right down the middle, and it's going between those two creases, and it's right on that score line. And I'm just going to take 2 seconds here, even though that's going to be on the inside. I'm just going to erase those 2 little pencil marks. So believe it or not, we are almost done with the bones for this card. And let's just take a look back at the prop. So what we've done is we've done scores, we've done the cut, and we would be able to turn this card. So you'll see that I have the ability to turn that card. So I've got the frame of the card. But now what I need to do is I need to do a little bit of die cutting. And the die cut is going to be on the bottom 2 center panels. So when you're doing this, what you want to do is you want to just kind of figure out where your bottom 2 panels are. This is much more important on a piece that you would do with designer series paper, because let's say that on the design that you're going to put in the middle, so you would be able to see that at the back of your opening, you might have a pattern that goes vertically, and you would want to be able to see that. You don't want it to be going upside down. So you just need to be a little bit mindful of where those die cuts are going to go. And also pay attention to the way that the score lines are folded. The one in the middle is a mountain card. It's going to come toward you. The 2 opposite ones are valley folds. They're going to go away. So you're going to end up with kind of a W when you have it folded. Now, you are going to die cut the 2 openings. I'm going to put my 2 down here in one pass through your die cutting machine. So when I did this one on cardstock, I used one of the stitch rectangle dies, and the way you do this is you're going to actually, and I'll do this in a second, you're going to fold it so you can put your die on the front or the back. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to put mine on the front, and you run it through, and your card is folded over, so you're going to get 2 die cuts through that pass. Be gentle with your die cutting machine when you do this using cardstock. You're going to have 2 layers of cardstock. Don't force your die cutting machine. If it really doesn't want to do it, kind of take it back. Be gentle, but you should be able to get it through. It's just going to feel a little bit tighter. When you do the same thing with designer series paper, it's very likely that you're going to be able to run it through a little bit easier because this is thinner paper. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use one of the dies from the Stitch So Sweetly die set, and this is what I'm going to use to cut the holes that we're going to see in these 2 panels. So just watch how I do that. I'm going to put the die cuts here. I'm just going to turn my paper. So I'm putting my die cuts in here. If I fold this over, the width is narrow enough to get through my die cutting machine. And I'm going to put my die cut right over here. And that is going to give me the die cuts where I want them to go. So I'm just going to place this die, and again, with designer series paper, you may need to kind of visually fold over one of the parts so you can attempt to get this in the center. I'll put a little bit of washi tape on, and then I will run this through my die cutting machine really quickly. And obviously the shapes that you use to die cut here are limitless, because you'll see, I'm just going to put this back while I take that piece off camera. You can do anything. Circles, squares, triangles, ornaments, whatever makes you happy. And just like anything, these designs are ones that can be used for multiple occasions. So I am just running this through. Sorry, it's off camera. If you do this with cardstock, go through a few times on your die cutting machine. Just do a couple of passes and make sure that you get that cut nicely all the way through. So I just put this through my machine. I'm just going to look at the back, and I can see that it cut well all the way through to the other side. And just double check, because you don't want to have to take this back and put it into your machine again. All right, so I'm just going to take this, get my die off. And what's nice about this too is you get some extra pieces of die cut paper that you can use for other things. Just getting that off. And now I've got 2 fun pieces that I will save because I can use those on some other projects. But watch what happens when I open this up. I now have the same die cut on both of these panels. And the nice thing about it is they are the exact same distance from the top and from the sides. So you get a really nice sort of mirror image of what it is that you would want to show off. So we've got our bones. This is how to create the actual card base, if you want to call it that, for the Tealight card. If I pull this up now, you can see how this is all coming together. And isn't that pretty? Because I cheated. So here's where I'm admitting that I cheated. Because if I bring back the other card in a minute, which I will do, since it's just plain cardstock, it doesn't have a lot of design on it. I'm going to have to add some designs. I'm going to have to put some maybe designs in the background if I want to do that. And then for those folks who don't like to have naked cards on the back, this one is not naked since I cheated and I used designer series paper. So how do you finish this up? This is where you can do whatever makes you happy. And let me just show you. I'm going to bring back in the cardstock card and just give you some ideas. And these are ideas that Darlene shared with us and that we did as a group. We cut out vellum. I'll add the dimensions to the comments so you will have those if you want to use vellum. Vellum can be tricky in terms of using adhesive and seeing the adhesive dry on your vellum, it can leave little marks that you may or may not be able to hide. So just a caution, but vellum is also a really, really good way to decorate this card. My card's not finished, you can tell, but I did add some vellum in here. I put glue dots on the corner, and then what I decided to do was to cut out some dies that I had. I think these were from last year, some ornaments, and then I wanted to do sort of a mirror image of them. I put the black pieces on the back, as you can see. There was adhesive on the other side of this that was showing through on the front. I decided that didn't look really good, so I covered them up with the green that you can see right there. Cut out some designer series paper. I might still go back and put some design in the back, and I might go and make sure that the back of the card isn't naked, but you can do anything you want. Sentiments, whatever makes you happy. One of the other things that I did for this card that I will put on the front is I used one of the concentric dies that comes with the Stitched So Sweetly dies, and I just cut out a frame, and the frame is in, this is real red, and since it's the exact size of that die cut that I cut out, I'm going to go ahead and put that on the front. I don't know, honestly. Let me see if I can flip this over. I'm not really sure what I'm going to put in the back. We will see. Maybe I'll hang a little ornament or something, and I'll probably get a sentiment and stamp that and put that over here. I do have some extra paper because I took the 12 by 12 piece of designer series paper, and I can match the design from the back, and I'll probably use some of this to do a nice little sentiment over here on the right. So this is really what I wanted to show you, and what that is how to cut your paper to make these Tealight candle cards, and Tealight cards, excuse me. They are pretty straightforward. I mean, the bones is to get a piece like this, whether it's cardstock or designer series paper, with the score lines that we talked about, with the cut down the middle, and then with a die cut of your choice. And then the sky's the limit. You do what you want. You create however you want this card to look. And I just invite you to do two things. First and most important, please comment and thank Darlene for sharing this amazing technique with us. She really did a fantastic job, and she has some beautiful examples. If you look through the posts on this Facebook group, you'll see some really pretty designs that you can look at and think about whether you might want to use. And then the second thing that I just like to ask you to do is to go through the posts that are on this Facebook group, because many of the folks in our group have done examples of these cards, and they're gorgeous, and they're going to give you, again, some just great ideas of what you can do. So that's it. I just wanted to pop in and show that to you, and I look forward to seeing the beautiful cards that you're going to make using this technique. All right, see you guys later. Bye.